in this chapter of Kengan Omega, we finally get to see Retsudo fighting, and he basically uses various types of fighting styles, but for now we definitely get to see him use Salat. And this is probably because he learned Salat from Misasa himself. There's an image of them, and Koga does point that out, that how Retsudo's fighting is similar to how Misasa fights, only Retsudo has a knife. So Retsudo's probably very good in terms of like a street fight or very intense life or death conflicts. But when it comes to like hand-to-hand fighting, he's probably weaker than Misasa, or would perform worse than Misasa in that type of setting, which we get to see him fight the jobber here from the inside. Now, it's important to note, even though we don't know exactly how strong this fighter is, he's from the inside, which is a dangerous place. And you know, you had, I think, Koga and Oma saying that this person was actually powerful. So he may be a jobber in terms of like the story, but you know, in world, he's probably fairly powerful, right? So Retsudo makes a joke out of this man, and he's just dunking on him the entire time. He misses one jab, which may have been on purpose because he tries to do a surprise attack, but then after that, it's just complete domination of this dude. Like 100%, he was just messing with him the entire time. And at the end of that entire fight, he basically just slashes his face. Like, the disrespect that this man gave, although he did say he sensed bloodlust, so it seems like the striker did try to actually kill him, because we do see him progressively get pissed off as the fight is going on. So Retsudo probably saw that, because he's pretty good at gauging a situation, and was like, alright, I'm gonna teach this guy a lesson, and just cut his face, and now he's scarred for life. It's gonna be very funny seeing this dude again with a scar on his face and knowing that Retsudo actually did that to him. However, this does go to show what I think all of us suspected, because I did do a video on how strong is Retsudo, and I was pretty much on the money in terms of power, although I did get some things right in terms of the fighting style. So Retsudo seems to be someone who doesn't necessarily stick to a fighting style. He did use Salat here, but I definitely think that there are more weapons besides that small knife that he pulled out. I think we'll definitely see a lot more from him, because this is just the beginning. He says he's a jack of all trades, but not a master of any of them. So that definitely does go to show that there's probably more to what, you know, we see with Retsudo. But either way, he's fairly powerful. Is he strong enough to beat characters like Agito, Oma, and Ryan? I would say even if he's just as strong as them, which Oma does kind of say it, Agito probably thought the same thing, he still wouldn't beat them in a normal hand-to-hand fight, right? If we put him in Purgatory or even in the Kengan like fights, he would lose most of the time, because he just isn't built for that framework of hand-to-hand fighting. So we get to see that here, because he doesn't even use like his fist here, he uses a knife, which definitely goes to show that Retsudo does rely on weapons, even though he's fairly good at hand-to-hand. So all that aside, the Retsudo hype is here, but we gotta move on. Ultimately, we get to see the guide. Now, my ears perked up when I was reading this, because if you know anything about shady business, the moment something is gone wrong or doesn't go according to plan, usually something bad is about to happen, right? And here, the guy that they were supposed to meet way later comes early. Again, suspect as hell. And he says, it seems like the conflict is actually increasing in the center. So things are actually progressively getting worse. Whatever's happening at the center seems to be very, very big. And so basically the team has to get there as soon as possible to get Ryuki out of there, if he even is there to begin with. Which, again, this is a clear sign that either there's going to be a betrayal or something is just, because things have already gone wrong, right? Like, before we even get to like the center, things are already going way off the path of what was planned. So it's gonna be interesting to see that. But the guide himself he's very interesting, I guess. He's probably good at sneaking up on people, and judging by the bandages, he's probably taken a lot of punishment. But I don't think he's necessarily strong, he just might be good at stealth. I'll be very surprised if he's actually a good fighter, but this probably does discount the fact that this is someone we actually know, because no one recognizes him, and I did say that it's probably going to be a new character. You know, let's put in some crackpot theories here. It might just be that this is actually not the guide, but someone else. But then again, the general kind of does confirm that he is the guide, right? So that theory is kind of out the window. Either way, they're continuing on with the plan and they're just going forward, you know, surprisingly. So it was a good chapter. We get to see Retsudo do, you know, fight, which is fairly nice because we didn't even get to see that in the entirety of Ashura. And now we get to see that, okay, we're clearly moving on. We're going into basically a war zone, and hopefully we'll find Ryuki there, and the conflict is steadily rising. This was a fairly good chapter in my opinion. A little bit tame because of course the soldier that Retsudo was fighting against is a jobber, but again, happy that we even get to see Retsudo do anything. That's all really I got to say for this chapter, other than the fact that, you know, Retsudo is stated to be the only person who could get in between Ryan and Oma when they're fighting, or at least one of the very few people who can actually do that. But either way, this was a good chapter, so yeah, that's about it. Either way, like, sub, all that fun stuff. Take it easy.